I think movies are really important for a few different reasons. As a filmmaker myself, Christopher Nolan makes his films like mazes. Every little detail is perfect. Every moment is balanced between being organized and messy. He's like a watchmaker in the movie world, creating worlds where time twists, reality breaks apart, and human mistakes are shown on the biggest scale you can imagine, and they get really angry during that process. So they're kind of looking for it. But behind the camera, there's another drama happening. Nolan is famous for being strict and controlling, and this has made him work with some of the best actors alive. Actors who don't always like being controlled. He's a director who doesn't like improvising, but he works with actors who love it. He loves silence, but he teams up with people who live in noise. In a career known for big movies, Nolan's biggest challenge has often been smaller and more human. It's the clash between his method and the actors' personalities. These aren't fights you read about in magazines, but cracks in trust, battles over timing, and crashes between big egos and perfect precision. He has worked with legends, but some left wounds. These are the 7 actors Christopher Nolan himself has said, or quietly hinted, were the most difficult to work with, and why those problems shaped his journey through movies. Number 1. Christian Bale. Christian Bale is known for being intense. And on Nolan's sets, that intensity sometimes worked both ways. Their partnership started with Batman Begins, a role that needed Bale to change, not just his body, but his mind too. Nolan loved the dedication, but Bale's temper was legendary. Crew members whispered about his famous anger, the same energy that powered his acting, but also shook the set. For Nolan, who loved controlled order, Bale's fire could be both a gift and a problem. The stories of Bale's blow-ups have become Hollywood legends. On the set of Terminator Salvation, years after working with Nolan, Bale's angry outburst at a camera guy went viral. "I want you off the set. You have any idea?" While that explosion didn't happen on Nolan's films, it showed the same temper Nolan had to deal with. Coworkers said that Bale had an almost monk-like focus. He would disappear into his character, blocking out distractions. But when that focus was broken, the reaction was huge. Nolan, who's famously calm and organized, found himself managing not just Gotham's shadows, but the mind of his main actor. Nolan once said that working with Bale was like steering a hurricane. You respect the power, but you never forget it can knock you down. For The Dark Knight, the challenge got bigger. Ledger's Joker loved chaos. Bale's Batman needed discipline. Keeping that balance required Nolan to act as a referee as much as a director. The energy between Bale's serious Bruce Wayne and Ledger's crazy Joker created movie magic. But behind the scenes, it was Nolan's quiet control that kept the storm under control. The famous interrogation scene showed both success and tension. Bale wanted Batman's violence to feel raw, even out of control. Nolan pulled him back, reminding him that the power was in holding back, not going too far. That dynamic defined how they worked together. Bale reaching for the edge, Nolan tightening the leash. Bale's Batman is still the best, the emotional heart of the trilogy. But to Nolan, working with him was always a test of patience, of rhythm, of control. With Christian Bale, the talent was never in question. The question was whether the fire would burn or light things up. Number 2. Tom Hardy. When Nolan cast Tom Hardy in Inception, and later in The Dark Knight Rises, he got an actor who could hide himself completely, sometimes too completely. Hardy's mumbling voice choices became a controversial topic. From Eames's smooth talk to Bane's distorted threat, Nolan defended him publicly. Yet insiders say the sound problems frustrated him deeply. Hardy's creative risks made characters better, but they also threatened Nolan's obsession with clarity and precision. Hardy has long been known for burying himself in his character, sometimes to the point of hiding his own performance. In Inception, His role as Eames needed sly charm. But Hardy leaned into a slurred way of speaking that some crew worried might confuse the film's complicated dialogue. By The Dark Knight Rises, the problem got worse. Bane's mask, combined with Hardy's choice of a muffled, accented voice, left even experienced crew members struggling to understand his lines on set. Nolan once said, "Tom gives you an amazing physical presence, but you sometimes fight to hear him through the layers he builds." Nolan valued Hardy's boldness, but it came at a cost. His commitment to physical transformation, bulking up for Bane, adopting unrecognizable body language, sometimes left Nolan adjusting camera work and sound design just to make the performance understandable. For a director who prided himself on practical precision, Hardy's unpredictability was both exciting and frustrating. Still, Nolan stood by him. In interviews, he praised Hardy as one of the few actors who could disappear entirely, creating characters so complete that they seemed untouchable. Yet privately, the friction stayed. Hardy's approach clashed with Nolan's desire for clean storytelling, where every word mattered. On set, the director reportedly reminded Hardy that an audience can only believe you if they can hear you. The irony is that Hardy's choices became part of the legend. Bane's voice, mocked and argued about, is now impossible to separate from the film's legacy. For Nolan, it was proof that difficulty could also create unforgettable imagery. Working with Tom Hardy meant walking a fine line between brilliance and confusion, clarity and mystery. And for Christopher Nolan, that balance was as scary as any scene he put on screen. Number 3. Michael Caine. Michael Caine has been Nolan's most regular partner, appearing in almost every one of his films. But even loyalty has friction. Caine's old-school instinct sometimes crashed with Nolan's endless demand for subtlety and realism. Stories spread of Caine improvising or loosening lines in rehearsal, only to be met with Nolan's firm redirection. The love between them was real, but so was the occasional clash of generations. Caine grew up in an era when actors were taught to command the screen, showing presence and authority with every line. On Nolan sets, however, subtlety was sacred. The director relied on silence, framing, and detail to show meaning, asking actors to disappear into the story rather than dominate it. Crew members remembered moments where Caine leaned into theatrical displays only for Nolan to cut and insist on restraint. Nolan once explained, "Michael comes from a school where performance fills the frame. I ask him to let the frame fill the performance." In The Prestige, Caine's cutter became the film's anchor. Yet even there, Nolan guided him toward understatement. The risk of overstatement, Nolan believed, was that it broke the fragile realism he built into every shot. For Caine, instinct sometimes pointed in the opposite direction, toward the grand tradition of actors whose presence alone carried a story. Despite these differences, Caine became essential. His roles often showed the moral center, the loyal butler in the Dark Knight trilogy, the wise mentor in Inception, the aging scientist in Interstellar. Nolan once called him the heart that beats beneath the machinery of the film. Yet even that heart needed adjustment, reshaped to fit Nolan's minimal vision. Their bond lasted precisely because it was tested. Caine softened his approach. Nolan allowed warmth, and together they carved out performances that touched people deeply. For Nolan, Michael Caine was more than a partner. He was living proof that even the closest partnerships in movies need negotiation, and that true respect is built in the space where two traditions collide. Number 4. Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway's work in The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar showed Nolan at his most ambitious with female characters. Yet Hathaway's preparation-heavy process sometimes stretched against Nolan's stripped-down minimal style. She trained for months in movement, fight choreography, and vocal inflection. Nolan valued her commitment, but he also grew impatient with rehearsal-heavy methods that slowed his relentless pace. To him, perfection lived in the take, not the workshop. Hathaway's approach was based on careful planning. For Selina Kyle, she studied cat-like movement, worked daily with stunt teams, and analyzed vocal tones until the role felt complete. Nolan admired the seriousness, but insiders noted his preference for instinct over endless preparation. He once said, "You can rehearse forever, but the truth only arrives when the camera rolls." That belief often clashed with Hathaway's desire to arrive on set with every detail mapped. On Interstellar, the tension got deeper. Hathaway played Amelia Brand, a scientist torn between love and duty. Her preparation leaned heavily into emotional research, reading about astronauts, exploring themes of sacrifice, while Nolan insisted the emotion should come out in the moment. Crew members recalled long discussions where Hathaway asked for clarity on lines, while Nolan pushed her to trust silence. The director prized spontaneity, believing over-rehearsal risked draining authenticity. Still, Hathaway's performances connected. Her Selina Kyle balanced elegance with threat, and her speeches in Interstellar became key moments of Nolan's filmography. Yet the cost of those results was the push and pull between actress and director. In interviews, Hathaway admitted, "Chris never babies you. He expects you to leap, and you either land or you don't." Their dynamic showed a broader truth about Nolan's sets. "Oh, you don't seem happy to see me." He wanted actors willing to adapt to his